Hey, welcome back, everybody. Another week. We're a minute late. We had a little bit of snafu.
A minute and about 10 inches of snow later.
Right?
I think it's all right.
You think it's the snow?
I think it's the snow. Absolutely.
We'll blame it on snow. Actually, we had a cable go bad.
Yeah, we did.
An Ethernet cable. We thought we lost our internet. But all is well. So that is good. Let me see here. Let me make sure that we're all still set and everything is up and
Looks
running.
like we're running.
Okay.
And first one into the chat room.
Mark Coleman.
Mark Coleman is the winner.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Right?
So how do you like the snow this week there, Dan?
I tell you what, Snowmageddon is just awesome.
Everybody's losing their mind.
I know, right?
10 inches of snow. Hey, do you forget where we live? We live in Michigan. Come on already.
I guess the good point is, if we just got to complain about the weather,
right?
I guess that's probably about the best we can do, right?
Do you realize that this was the biggest snowfall that we've had since 2014?
No way.
That's what they say. That's what the experts say anyway. 2014. That's crazy. What'd you get in Fenton? See, I know. I already saw Mark's snow measuring stick. You had one up. What did you wind up getting out there in Fenton?
The last time I looked, it was about 8, but I didn't look today, and I know we got a couple more.
Okay. So you say, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Mark Coleman, you're in the house.
Well, as soon as I get this
Sherry Coleman. Hi from Crawfordville. I'm Mark's wife. Uh-oh. They're going to be fighting about something.
Tell us something about Mark that we don't know. Cough up the dirt.
Right. Give us some dirt.
Let us know what is going on. So I'm almost ready here. Here we go. There we go. I got that one, and I am ready to rock now. All right. This has been a little bit frazzled getting started tonight.
But we're here. We're live. I think we should get the podcast going because we have somebody in Iowa.
That's right. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to get the record going over here, and away we're going to go. All righty. Stand by. Here we go in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in a snowbound cabin tonight. 10 inches of snow on the ground here in mid-Michigan, along with my partner, Dan DeFaw. What is going on tonight?
I know. We're staying warm. We're into February.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be getting soon.
It's got to be getting what soon?
Turkey season.
Oh, well, that's coming, yeah.
Got to think positive here, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
well, where could I get some turkey hunting supplies if I was so into getting some?
Well, if you're into turkey hunting supplies, the best place to go would be to Buck Baits. That's right, folks, Buck Baits. If you ever been to the brick and mortar store at 15 in Dodge Park, you can go in there. They got a lot of stuff in there. And if you go to the website, www.buckbaits.com, you can use the promo code UNJ20 and you'll get 20% off your order.
Okay, what about a call?
A call, or calls, because he's got turkey calls, he's got deer calls, he's got squirrel calls, and he's got coyote calls. If you check with www.jpogamecalls.com, use our promo code UNJ10, you'll get 10% off your order. We met with him last weekend, and he was having a blast.
That's right. That was a pretty good show.
It was a great show. And what are we drinking tonight?
A wall hanger.
Wall hanger.
I had to make the wall hanger brew tonight for our guest.
Absolutely. And people, you'll understand why. Mm-hmm. If you want some Deer Camp coffee yourself, go on over to www.deercampcoffee.com and use the promo code UNJ10 for 10% off your order. And when you do, if you're picking up, he's got Michigan cherry, he's got blueberry, he's got wall hanger, why not pick a bag of UNJ coffee? That's right. Pick up a bag of our medium roast, our label, down at Buck Baits. And if you switch over to my screen real quick, I got one more promo code that we can pop in for everybody. Brand new to the show, supporter of the show this year, the Island Armory. We had them on last year, and officially starting this week, they are part of the show, and we got a promo code for everybody out there. 10% off. You go over to the website, theislandarmory.com, use the promo code UNJ10, and check out everything they have gun-wise.
Everything gun-wise. You gotta like guns, man.
You do, but that, I would not be amiss if.
Come on, show it to me.
I'm going full screen. There you go, folks. A balmy 5 degrees in Newberry, Michigan, at 123 FM up in the UP. That's carrying our show. It looks a little cold.
I think we got more snow than they got.
I think we do. It does look like we do, don't we?
Right? So, and there's 2 cars on the road in Newberry, believe it or not.
So
tonight. Check
it out. Get up there to Cedars, have a pizza, and have some coffee.
There you go. And big shout out to FM 123 for carrying this show. Dan, before we jump right in right now, I want to cover something real quick, and then we're going to get right into introducing our guest. But you brought some news to me this week that you posted on the page, and we want everybody just to take a moment and think about Travis T-Bone Turner. We got news this week that he's got cancer and that he's going to be going in and having surgery and having part of his leg taken off.
Yeah, it was just shock. I saw the feed come through, and those guys over there, they give their heart and soul to the outdoors, and he kept it quiet for 7-8 months, and finally he said it's time, and he let the people know. Yeah. So
he's part of Bone Collectors, if you don't know, and it's just everybody that's in the outdoor industry, they know who he runs with Waddell and Nick Mont. Great guys, great shows, and for this gentleman to be hit with something like this, it's just terrible. But say a prayer for him tonight if you can, and just remember T-Bone, this week. So, and we'll be talking about it later on. But I want to get into the show tonight because we got some good stuff to talk about tonight. Kids in the outdoors and hunting, and a big buck later on in the show. So
stay tuned for that one. But obviously, we wanted to have Ron talk about Raised at Full Draw, and what's all about them.
Yeah. So without further ado, Denise Peterson from Raised at Full Draw. Denise, how you doing tonight?
Good. Thank you so much, Dan and Mike, for inviting us to come talk about camp to your followers.
Hey, you know what? We love talking about the outdoors, talking about hunting, fishing, everything goes along with it, And from what I've heard from our newest staff member, Mr. Mark Coleman, he works with you guys, with your group there, and said that we've got to get you on the show. Everything I've heard so far has been great. So, Donise, why don't you tell us, what is Raised at Full Draw? I mean, let's just jump right into it tonight.
Yeah, so Raised at Full Draw is a 501c3 nonprofit headquartered out of Iowa, and the Holder family actually started it back in 2014. And if you're not familiar with the Holder family, it's David and Karen and Warren, and they have the Raised Hunting TV show, and then they also have the Raised Outdoors app. And so they started it in Iowa, and then they had another camp in Montana, and then they had another camp in North Dakota. They used to have one in Kansas and Illinois, but we're no longer there. But we also have one in Michigan, Wisconsin, and now Missouri. So camp has just continued to grow throughout these years. And I had the pleasure of meeting them when they became certified through bow hunter education and hunter education, and loved what they're doing and came and jumped on with them.
Okay, you caught my ear there. You said there's one of their camps in Michigan. I did not know that. Where out in Michigan? Yeah,
so we have a camp up in Morley at the Haymarsh, which is north of Grand Rapids, about 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay, yeah, that's.
But wait, there's more to this whole story of the Michigan connection.
Well, I had that feeling there probably would be.
Yeah. So our Haymarsh camp is also owned by Fourth Arrow, and Fourth Arrow's employees come and volunteer and help host our camp in Michigan.
No way.
Yeah.
That is awesome. We know a couple of people over there at Fourth Arrow, and
we have their camera arms.
We've got their camera arms, and a couple other pieces of gear that we've tried out of theirs as well. So great people over there. There's something about Michigan. There's a lot of great companies here that love to give back to the outdoors. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm actually really excited for Fourth Arrow because they just released their new camera arm that you can actually attach to your cell phone. Did you see that?
No.
It's like great for myself to get attached to it because I don't have like a camera that I can go out and film and hunt with, but I definitely take my cell phone everywhere I go. So.
Right, there you go. Now, we didn't get to ATA this year, down to the show, and we've missed a lot of connections with a lot of people here this last year.
Yeah, and they were really busy over at the show at Grand Rapids, so it was like, you let them do their business and let them enjoy it. But it's so good to hear a Michigan company, obviously they own where the kids go to camp, and having this camp here in Michigan and hearing about the other states as well. Now, where did this first start? Where was the first camp at?
Yes, the first camp was actually in Iowa in 2015. And it started off with a 12 to 17-year-old youth camp. And when the youth come to camp, they actually get bow hunter education certified. And then actually at the Michigan camp, we do both bow hunter education and hunter education at that camp. So every state agency is a little bit different that we get to work with and partner. But it's not just about bow hunter education. The kids are also staying in tents. So if you think about the age range, that's why we do have them at the age of 12.
Okay.
Having them a lot younger and trying to stay in a tent overnight for the first time can be a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Scary. Well, it's scary.
A little bit more homesick.
Right. I've seen that at a couple different camps, and actually I've got some grandkids we've taken I've taken camping with us, and I was actually a little bit worried that might happen. So I can understand that.
Yeah. And then we also have 12, just because a lot of our state agencies do have that minimum requirement of the certification age that they can get bow hunter ed certified or hunter ed certified. So we work with state agencies on that too. And then if you think about the bows that we pull back, we want to invite them to learning how to use a hunting style bow. So not necessarily a youth bow to just pull back, but we want them to actually learn how to use a release and use a sight or something. So the bows that we use sometimes just aren't the best for a little youngster to pull back a 10, 15 pounds, sometimes still too. So.
Right, you want them to be able to take that, take the knowledge that they've got, be able to know that they can execute a shot and make an ethical shot with the correct poundage and take a big game such as a whitetail, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yep.
And the best part of that is when you're getting them involved, I'm assuming, letting them be able to do it with no pressure, and then when they start to realize that they can do it, the confidence level just goes through the roof. Well, like you talk about spending a night in a tent. They accomplish that one. They're like, hey!
Right.
Then they go to do some archery.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Yep. And for those that have never even shot a bow, we actually have extra bows and releases, arrows, everything in a trailer to provide them for that weekend as well.
And that's awesome. And you have them for a 3-day weekend? Is that?
So they come in usually on a Thursday and they leave on Sunday. So it's 3 overnights but 4 days.
Okay.
Okay, 3 overnights, 4 days. Cost associated with this?
There is. So our overnight camps, it's $250, and then our North Dakota camp is actually a day camp, and it's $150. So it's half of the cost, or $125.
Okay.
And as we're talking about this, just for anybody that's listening or watching on Facebook or YouTube, if you go over to the raisedatfulldraw.com website, you can hit the donate button. You can sign up for camps. You can check out the camps a whole lot more on the website.
And they can even sponsor kiddos. So I do want to just, again, I know I said it to you on the phone and sent you a letter, but I appreciate your guys' donation that you provided to the kids last year. Last year we had the most amount of requests ever, and that's when the Coleman family, Mark and Sherry, that you've mentioned, they're super wonderful people, helped just talk about getting others to donate to sponsor these kids to come to camp. And so we were able to get 30 kids that needed funding to be able to come to camp last year.
Oh, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm. So thank you for your help and all of the Coleman's help and everybody else too.
You know, and that's one of the things that it's that giving back part. Speaking of giving back, do you need volunteers to help with camp, or what about something like that? Do you need volunteers to help out? You got enough people, or do you need more people?
We could always use volunteers. So we're never going to turn you away unless you don't pass your background check. So there's a plug on that.
Dan, that counts you out. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and we want you to be an ethical hunter. We want them to teach, because the kids are going to learn off of what you're providing their knowledge to. But we actually do have a curriculum with the National Bow Hunter Education Foundation, NBEF, and that's also what most of the state agencies use. And so we're teaching them that curriculum through those 4 days of how to be a safe, ethical hunter. And so if they're willing to help teach our curriculum and go through that and not worried about, what kids might have to say, because sometimes it can be nerve-wracking to try and talk to your peers, because we don't just have one volunteer there. We'll have like 2 or 3 in a group. So you're never one-on-one with a group of people or a group of individuals or kiddos. So we just want to make sure that they understand they're never alone.
Absolutely. That whole being able for them to vocalize and talk and not feel pressure that, oh, gosh. But that's great, because getting these kids to talk nowadays is, sometimes it's a little tough.
Yeah, put that phone down.
Right?
Yep. So speaking of the phone, we actually don't let them bring their phone to camp. We take their phone and put it in a Ziploc bag. Same with like knives, and then they can get at the end of the camp to exchange phone numbers or emails or however they want to do that. But we have them just disconnect, be kids, and let's connect back to our nature. We also pray before we eat, and we raise and lower the flag every day. Just go back to our heritage and believe in the country that we live in.
Amen to that. Thank you. There's somebody out there that gets it. That's awesome. I tell you what, we're bumping up here on our first break. Let's continue the conversation. We're going to step outside, and we'll be right back after this, after we take care of a few of our sponsors.
All right, folks, anybody watching on the live stream, if you got any questions, throw them at us. We'll ask Denise and get them answered.
Okay, I got something I want to kind of lead into when we come right back. So, any questions out there yet?
I already asked it.
Oh, you already asked? Okay.
I snuck it in.
Okay, all right. Okay, save this one off. All right. And here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome back. Second segment of the show. We've been talking about Raised at Full Draw. Kids style camp that teaches them how to ethically hunt, teaches them the rules and regulations of hunting. When you guys go through all this, when they're done, like say here in Michigan, and they take their bow hunting training, and then you said you teach them hunter's ed, do they take their tests there while they're at camp, so they're all set to go when they're done?
They do, yep. So we kind of have the stages of progression. So we don't just on the first day, hey, you're going to have a test, here it goes. That's at the last day of camp.
Okay.
So they will take that as they've gone through the program of the camp. But
Okay.
they do the test, yep.
Okay. Now, so with the cost associated and everything, obviously there's going to be a registration. What time of the year is camp here, like say in Michigan for some of our listeners, or are they all the camps at the same time? Are they staggered? And how soon do they need to register?
Yeah, so camp starts the beginning of June. So my camp season, I should say, starts in the beginning of June. And I ping pong all my way around to all these different camps. And I bring the truck and trailer along with me. But the Michigan camp is July 21st through the 24th. And registration is open now for any of our camps. So Missouri, Iowa, Montana, North Dakota, Michigan, and Wisconsin. They're all open now. Typically, they will fill quickly.
Okay.
So being in an outdoor setting, a lot of people aren't too worried about COVID. They sleep in their own tent. We're all outdoors except for when we eat. And even then, there's a lot of space inside for them to kind of move around. But we do follow the protocols of of what you needed for COVID, or spraying things down and all those type of things.
Sure.
But,
Well,
So okay, you said you bump around to all these events in these different states. So who drives the truck?
I do. Who wouldn't? Yep. So I get to drive I'm not a big person to understand vehicles, but I know it's a Ford F-250, so it's this massive truck and trailer that I get to drive around. The first year it was a 28-foot trailer, and I said, okay, let's take everything out of the 28 and put it in this 22-foot trailer, and I feel a little bit better about driving that one. But yeah, I went all around to all those camps, and I even dragged one of my friends with me, Jessica, last year, and we had a blast just teaching the passion of archery to all these youth and even adults, because when the volunteers come, they're also learning new things too.
okay. Now, when they come to camp, or the volunteers come to camp, what do they need to? I mean, do you have like all the archery equipment, or do they need to bring their own archery gear, their bows, their arrows, and all that? Or how does that all work?
Yeah, so day one of camp, if they don't have their own archery equipment, we set them up. And so we're doing your eye dominance to your draw length, to fit a bow to you. And then we're going to go and do like how to start a fire, how to build a shelter, to the progression, right? So we're also doing first aid, and then shooting. So we are shooting archery constantly. The kids can say that you never get enough archery shooting, but we have to build in those other activities inside of it too. But they shoot any time that there possibly is a downtime. They will get their bows out and shoot.
Right. So basically, this camp is not just a bow camp. There's a bunch of other things that you guys have intertwined into the curriculum for the days that they're there.
Yep. And so day two, they're going to learn how to set up a ground blind, how to set up a tree stand, how to put a harness on, how do we climb up that tree stand. Again, volunteers are with them, watching them do all of this. That first day, we're not actually shooting out of our tree stand. We're not actually shooting out of our ground blind. It's beginning to learn how to do it, to build them up for the next day where we then do shoot out of it. We want them to feel confidence. Climbing a tree stand takes a lot of confidence for some people who are afraid of heights. So we want to be there with them every step of the way. But we want to also talk about why we use a haul line, why we use that tow line. People call it different things there. And then why we also have them attach their harness lifeline to them in the tree, and how we do all of that so that they're maintaining 3 points of contact with the tree the entire time. And then we also get into calls, so like what you're talking about, your turkey calls, your grunt tubes, your elk calls, everything. We get into calls, and we also get into decoys. Now, I know decoys is something that Michigan doesn't really allow you to use, not during turkey season, but during like hunting season. Is that right?
No, we can use decoys here in Michigan.
Yep.
No, we're good with that. Only thing you can't do is it has to be all natural movement.
No lifeline, no line to it, so you
No motorized.
or jerk string or anything like that.
Yeah. Every state agency and every state's department's a little bit different when it comes to that. That's why the volunteers are so important, to know those local laws. So we talk about that during camp, of what you can and can't do, but showing them different setups, of your hens and your jakes and 1 or 2, and just teaching them as much as you possibly can.
As we're going through these pictures, as you're talking, I notice everybody kind of has the same shirt. Do they get does everybody get a shirt for that camp?
We do, yep. So sometimes we have, one shirt that we pass out, or sometimes there's 2 or 3 of them as well. It just depends on those sponsors and donations that are being provided. But at the national level, so myself, I will provide everybody with a shirt that attends camp.
And how many kids are typically at a camp?
Yeah, our camp fills at 50, except for North Dakota is 25, because that's a day camp.
Okay, so that's why the price is a little different there, because they're not spending the night.
Right. Yep. And so we're just covering our cost. When you think about bringing in shower houses and porta potties and your meals, so yeah, we're just trying to cover our costs when it comes to those associations there.
So we talked about the volunteers and needing the need for volunteers and wanting them to help out if people want to donate money or they want to volunteer themselves. Do the volunteers come from each state, or do volunteers come from all over to different events?
Yeah, so that's a great question too. A lot of the volunteers do come locally from that area, but we have people that fly. I'm going to say one of our favorite volunteers on the East Coast, Eddie, lives over in like the Delaware, New York area, and he flies to Iowa every summer and helps out. And so we're seeing more and more of volunteers being able to take that weekend off and just come and help at one of our camps. So they do fly, they do drive. Some of the volunteers don't necessarily want to tent camp it, so if there's a hotel nearby, they will even maybe go to a hotel nearby, or they'll even bring like a truck and trailer, their own camper, and they'll stay in the camper for those weekends too.
Okay.
But most of our locations are very rustic. Montana is our only camp that has cabins right there on site. So otherwise, our volunteers are in a tent with them, just like I am, or they're kind of living nearby and they'll go somewhere, nearby.
A typical day, like say at Michigan, that does have the sleepovers. What time are you up in the morning? What happens during a typical day, and what time do you kind of shut things down and let the kids kind of do what they want to do?
Yeah, so those Michigan kids, they don't want to sleep at all. They're up right in the room. Man, I just remember it was so funny because, like, I hadn't even gotten out of my tent yet. I'm like wiping my eyes. I'm like, can we shoot? Can we shoot? I'm like, what? Like, it's not even 6 o'clock yet, you guys. And I was like, we have to have light out to be able to shoot. So it's pretty funny. We wake up and we're on the go. By 7:30, we've already eaten breakfast, done our Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going. And so by the time they get home on Sunday, they're ready to go to sleep, to be honest. They've had a long week, and lights out is at 10 o'clock, but you still hear a lot of those giggles and laughs and friendships and bonds that are being made in those tents. So we're trying to get them to quiet down as early as we can at 10 o'clock, but sometimes that's a struggle. But.
Do you have returning students?
Yeah, yep. So we do see some of our kids come back year after year, and that's something that I'm working on our curriculum is how can we work with those kiddos that have maybe been the second year now. So the more volunteers at camp really helps, because then I can say, okay, these kids have been to camp here. Let's do like an Oregon Trail type setting for them as they navigate this position, and we'll go back and do these things for these kiddos that haven't been to camp yet. So we need volunteers to be able to do that, because otherwise it is going to be kind of relatively the same information year after year. But if they come at 12, they might not have absorbed all of that information. So by the time they're 13, 14, they've really grown within themselves and maybe become more of an adult, not so young and hyper kind of a thing as well, and learn what we're trying to actually teach them to.
So some of these kids that maybe have come back, you said this started in 2015. Have you seen any that's come to like a young adulthood and come back and either gave back to the program and volunteered, or maybe they've come back to you and said, you've helped me do this, and look, here's my first deer that I took with my bow. Any of those stories?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually have a young man who just had his first baby, and he was in one of our Montana camps before, and he's a doctor, and camp just really made an impact on him, and he and his wife came out and volunteered a couple years ago, and I know they'll be back once that little one gets a little bit bigger. But yes, there's just something about coming to camp, being a part of a great organization that understands the values and needs of getting others into the outdoors, that they want to continue to be a part of it. So we do see many of our kiddos come back and volunteer as they age through the program.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and they really do value that time of the bonds of friendships that they've made, And then even if it's a kiddo, the bond that they make within those volunteers too. So we get pictures of kids harvesting their first deer, whether it's a doe or a buck or a turkey. We love seeing those first harvest photos. And that is something that I do work with the state agency on, is to try and figure out, if I don't hear from them, how many of them are continuing on this progression of hunting. I don't know if you know, but there's a national movement called R3, recruitment,
Yep.
retention, reactivation.
Yep.
So with my background as a previous state agency employee, that's really strong for myself too and our board to continue to increase the recruitment of these participants going hunting. So if they don't have a mentor, can we find them a mentor to continue that stage of going on a hunt? So while we don't actually get to take them on a hunt right there in camp because it's in the summer, we want to see that progression if they have that interest.
Absolutely. Just getting those kids into it and keep them into it.
Keeping them into it, that's the trick. What about some of the parents? What kind of stories are you hearing back from the parents that maybe Johnny or Susie, they made such an impact in them, they changed, they've grown up or what have you? I mean, some of those stories, are you hearing that back from the parents?
Yes, yep. Well, we definitely have those emails and those stories back from parents of saying, what did you do to my kid? Like, they're completely changed. They're listening. They're just more focused and attention driven. They want to continue shooting archery, so they know that if they do well in school, they can come back to camp. But just the life skills overall, you see a change in them.
That's the thing. You're making an impression in basically 3 days that could last a lifetime and change them to a point where you can only feel good about yourself.
Absolutely.
But I tell you what, we've got some more questions coming, and we're coming up on a break. How about we take a break? We'll go to the third segment, and we'll come back with some questions for you.
All right, we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this.
Keep those questions coming.
All righty. Got people in there asking if you have any?
Absolutely. That one.
I got something I want to lead in with coming back.
All right. Then I got 2 questions.
Okay. All right. You're awful quiet tonight, Dan. That's a first. I got dead silence here.
I'm enjoying listening to her talk, and I don't know.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Third segment of the show. So we kind of got the rundown of how the camp works. What's all involved, costs, all that. Just for instance, let's just say, Dan and I, we want to help out at Michigan camp. What would somebody need to do to be able to help out at one of these camps? What do they have to go through?
Yeah, so I'd first ask you to go to our website at raiseatfulldraw.com/volunteer. And there's a simple form there. And that form lets me know what you're interested in teaching and what you do as a hunter. Or maybe you're not a hunter. Maybe you want to help us serve and do kitchen, take trash out, whatever it's going to be. Maybe you just want to give back. But I do look at those volunteer forms and I can say, oh, Dan is really good at setting up ground blinds. Let's test his knowledge, and let's see this Dan, and put up ground blinds. And Mike likes to do tree stands, so let's put Mike on tree stands area. And if you're somebody that does not know how to call, I'm not going to put you on a calling station. So we want to make sure that you tell us as much as you like to do and how you could perform and with those kiddos in action. So that's the first step. And then you would provide me with your background check as well, because again, working with our youth, we want to make sure that everybody is legal, right? We don't want to
Absolutely.
with our kids and our parents. Definitely wouldn't like that either. So we look at those background checks, and then we'll partner you up with that host volunteer coordinator. So in Michigan, it's Ashley and Ben at the Haymarsh, and all of them that do support our camps, they are all volunteers. I am the only paid employee for Raised at Full Draw. So I think that's really important to know that everybody is giving back their time within that program too. So we appreciate all of that volunteer hours for them to give back into those camps.
Absolutely.
You know, and speaking of like on the website, you can donate or you can volunteer. When somebody donates, does it go to the whole Raised at Full Draw in a big bucket, or can you specifically say, hey, I want to donate to such and such camp, or how does that work?
Yeah, yep. So when they donate, we do ask them, you know, is this for a specific camp? So is it for Michigan camp? Is it to support kids to go to camp, so scholarships? Or is it the overall, I want to be part of all of them? So Fourth Arrow, for an example, donates to all of our camps. And so at every single one of them, I talk about Fourth Arrow, and I'll talk about like Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation or Under Armour, those that, you know, really support camp, and we can teach them what it is. I think you also have Better the Bow Mitt, the hand, you know, that keeps you guys' the gloves warm on your bow.
Yep.
Proud supporter of Up North Journal.
Yeah. So he supports us too. And, you know, we want to talk about those good inventions that people may not see very often because it's not in a store very often. So, so they can do all of our camps. They can just do one of our camps, or very specific donations too.
All right. Now, another question we got, and it kind of makes me wonder, is can you explain how the meals work? I'm kind of interested.
You're always about food, aren't you?
Well, eventually, yeah. But I'm kind of just picturing, do they like give them a TV tray and
keep Dana away from the food,
or a brown bag, and say, "Here you go." Well, so how do the meals work?
Our kids, and I haven't even mentioned our women's camp. We have a women's camp as well, but they eat like kings and queens at camp. Sometimes our food is being catered in, and sometimes it's cooked right there on site. Now, I'm kind of biased that Montana camp, they make amazing food. They do it right all there in this huge kitchen that's right on site, certified kitchen, you know, with chefs and stuff. It's amazing. I never heard of like a schnitzel before, but it's really good food out there in Montana. But most of our camps are catered in, and so it's not just, you know, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Though if the kids really don't like what we're eating for dinner, they will eat that, and we'll have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches ready for them. So
there you go. So you'll have something for everybody, but not bad getting the food catered in.
No, not at all.
You know, speaking of that, I want to get into the benefit coming up. But you just mentioned one of the questions that I had, because I saw it. I'm on Facebook, matter of fact, and if you go to Raised at Full Draw at Facebook, you can get on there and give them a like and share. What is the women's retreat that's going to happen June 10th through 12th?
Yes, so our women's camp, just imagine all the men out there that have wives or spouses that haven't learned how to hunt yet. You can send them to our camp, and we will teach them, and we'll teach them how to do it on your own. If you don't want them to sit in your own tree stands, we'll teach them how to do it themselves. But just imagine those women who want to learn how to do it, who can also take their kids out with them, and the empowerment of learning how to walk in the dark or climbing a tree stand. We also do shotguns at our women's camp, so learning how to shoot a shotgun for your first time. They come away learning so much and having so many questions. At that camp, we will also dive in more on how to adjust your bows and really let you know how to fix it if you want to learn how to do this. It's very empowering just to see the connection that they have to motivate each other.
Well, that's awesome that you got one of my favorite stories that Mike and I have is we were doing a show up in Saginaw here, and
I know where this is going.
A lady came in because we're in the archery department, and we were helping out with archery, and a lady came in, and she wanted to try a bow. And we're like, sure, no problem, but she'd never done it before, and the reason why she was in Saginaw, because actually she was about 75 miles away from her home, back down towards Detroit, was because she was afraid that she was going to be in the store shooting a bow, and some of our friends were going to see her doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And she was paranoid of that. So she ran up to Saginaw, up the highway, and we met her, and she her first shot was a bullseye. It's like, and you know, she was so happy. Yeah, she was so happy. But just like that, and here you have a camp that breaks down all those things that, the barriers that they have about that. Because that's one thing, you know, try it, and you'll like it.
I gotta ask. I assume that with the ladies there learning, it's women teaching women?
Mostly, yes.
Okay.
So it is in Iowa, so David and Warren, Easton Holder, they will come out and help as well because they are phenomenal teachers. At our women's camp, and Karen Holder, I don't know if I mentioned her to you, but Karen Holder will come out. But when we mention the men, it's non-judgmental. So we want them to know that if they hold the bow upside down, we're not going to laugh at them. We're going to just show them how you hold it properly.
Mm-hmm.
And what everything is, just so that, let's start from scratch. Maybe you have been shooting for a while, but you don't necessarily have the right form. So let's just go through it and break it down and see how we can better you so that you're not hurting your muscles when shooting or anything like that. But finding women to teach, sometimes it's really hard because it can be hard on other women just to want to think that they can. You know, trying to tell people, you can really do this. You've been shooting archery for how long? I know you can teach somebody how to do it too.
Right. And if a woman is listening to the show, where can somebody go for the women, for the June camp to register?
Yes, yep. So it's also on raiseitfulldraw.com, and you just click our women's camp instead of our youth camp. And that, I think you just said the dates of that. That's June 10th through the 12th.
Yep.
That was not as long. They come in on a Friday, and they leave on Sunday. But they will also get bow hunter education as well.
Yeah, we've all heard the horror stories, and I've actually seen people that did this. You know, somebody will try to teach their wife or their girlfriend how to shoot a bow or a gun or how to cast a fishing rod, whatever it is. And they go, no, you're doing it all wrong. Let me show you. And that right there just blows the whole experience right out of the water. You know, I think it's great. You're getting women involved, teaching other women, because, I mean, honestly, us guys, we can screw a lot of stuff up when it comes to stuff like that. So.
Yeah, you know, just knowing how to talk to other women, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a completely different emotion for the first time harvesting an animal. And so if we can talk through that and say, you just provided food for your family, you know, and just lead them through, this was a blood trail, this was your shot placement, let's talk about how that animal reacted. Trying to provide them the emotions now or the adrenaline now before, I think is very helpful before they get to that stage, and telling them, you know, it's okay if you miss. And we do this with our kids too, like, everybody misses, and they say they haven't, they're probably lying.
Exactly.
So don't let them, you know, fool you, because you know, it happens. And you have to learn how to break that down sometimes. So hopefully everybody understands learning it as a new person in the sport of archery or hunting. It might not be easy, so let's be easy on them. Be easy with them.
Exactly.
Well, okay. Let's take this back just a little bit. Okay, so you're teaching kids, you're teaching women, getting them involved in the outdoors. How did you get involved with this group, and how did you get involved? Was this your experience of getting into the outdoors, or do you have a outdoors background before you came to the group?
Yeah, so I feel very blessed because my father is the one that taught me how to go hunting. And again, when you think about this young girl who's just constantly like, what did you do today? Did you shoot anything? Well, what do you mean you didn't shoot a deer? How many deer were out in the field? What was close? Like, you're just constantly egging questions and wanting to know what was out in the field, and then he just keeps taking you. And so like, okay, so now you get to do these. And, you know, teaching about keeping your feet warm and walking quietly in the woods, right? So we provide all those same experiences that we would at camp. But again, I feel very fortunate because I did have that opportunity that had my mentor, my father, and he was able to be mentored by others and wanted to pass that on to me. So I'm very blessed with that opportunity. And he didn't let me just go deer hunting, but he took me turkey hunting and waterfowl hunting, so both ducks and geese, and dove hunting and pheasant hunting, and all of them. You know, it wasn't just like, oh, you just want to do one. You know, he exposed me to all of the different aspects. And my father was in the military, so he wasn't afraid to teach me how to use a firearm, and expose my brother and I both to that. But we got to move around a lot, and fortunately those places had different hunting opportunities to take advantage of, and he showed me those too. And I just, you know, again, I can't thank my dad enough for being that leader and that vision for myself. And because of that, you know, there became that passion that I wanted to be in the natural resources world. So I went to school at Iowa State, and it's a degree within natural resources, wildlife management, and with a degree in they call it a naturalist. So someone that would be at a park and rec, or you know, interpretation of what animals these are in the areas. But then I got hired on with the state agency, so the Iowa DNR, as a contract position, also within 4-H shooting sports. So I got to teach kids within 4-H and the Archery in the Schools program, bow hunter education, becoming an outdoors woman, just a lot of different youth programs. And your passion just continues to grow and grow and grow from there. So, and then I got to meet the holders when we certified them within bow hunter education, learned about this program, and when they asked me to come work for them, I said, okay, you know, I think I really like this opportunity. It's one focus of archery and hunting, and within the state agency, I could see that focus of R3, so that recruitment, retention, reactivation, and this was a great way to try and take these archery in the school kids, or JOAD kids, or S30A kids, and not just shoot archery, but try and transfer them into the progression of now going hunting.
That's awesome.
I tell you what, that's just one of those things. You went to college not knowing, you know, you went to college, got your degrees, thinking you had a career lined up, and then all of a sudden, just by meeting somebody and something's happened, and all of a sudden, look, you kind of took what you were doing, and now look at you. You're running camps and running women's camps. And besides, a question about the women's camp is, how soon do you need to register for the women's camp?
So our women's camp, it does fill quickly too. So all of them tend to fill by March, April timeframe. Sometimes you'll get cancellations in May, but a lot of that March, April timeframe camp will be filled. And that one is also $250. Participate in that one too.
And you know what, you're talking, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I should mention, if someone flies in, so we've had people come in from Montana or North Dakota, they might not be able to pack a tent with them. We do have extra like tents and cots and sleeping bags that we will provide individuals if they so need that. We just need to know ahead of time, because sometimes I'll take it out of my personal stash, or my dad will come help me set up. They can afford that. We want to be able to break any barriers down. And again, that's where those donations come from, that we can be able to provide tents for some of them.
Okay.
That's awesome, because, you know, one of those things that, you know, you're talking about the donations, and you talk about the price for the camps. You got something coming up here that is in March that's going to be an online auction, aren't you?
Yeah, we do. So starting March 4th, which is in conjunction with the Iowa Deer Classic, we're going to open our online auction. And items can vary from binoculars to trail cameras to bows. It's sometimes the items are donated, and sometimes we have to purchase them at a donated, you know, rate too. But we also have a Nebraska non-resident turkey tag, and then they can choose if they want it to be a whitetail tag or a mule deer tag on there. And then we have this same auction in August, and that's when we do our non-resident Iowa deer tag. So a lot of people want to come to Iowa and hunt, and this is one way to do that if they want to purchase that non-resident deer tag.
Well, I see why.
Yeah, exactly.
On the well back there.
So we're coming up on our first break, and
Third break.
third break. You're right. So when you have that link to the online, we'll get that up. We'll share it on our Facebook page as well. But obviously, if you're watching the show on Facebook or YouTube, I tell you what, you can see a little bit of it behind her. But in our next segment, we're going to talk about some of those things up on that wall.
All right, we're going to step outside. We'll be right back after this. Yeah, there's been a couple of people that's said, talking about the mounts there on the back of the wall. I was like, okay, we're going to get to them.
I'm assuming your dad's first name is David.
Yeah, is he on there?
Yeah, he's on there.
Yeah.
Well, it was the first comment was, wow, look at those beautiful bucks in the background. And then Mark Coleman called them out.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, oh, Dad's here.
They're great supporters. I love my parents.
Well, okay, so that's another part of this whole thing, is having parents support their kids to bring them one of these camps.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. So, but yeah, so last segment, we're going to turn to the items on the wall. And like I said, when you get that link to the online auction, just send it to me, and we'll get it up on our Facebook page. And
Okay, and I'll put it on my Facebook page too, so I'll make sure I share it with you.
Yep,
Tag
absolutely.
You. Okay, thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. All right, I want to look at that Nebraska tag.
Here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. Well, we've come to the last part of the show. We got 15 minutes left, and honestly, I don't know if we can talk about all those bucks sitting there on the back of that wall in 15 minutes. Wow, I know Iowa produces big deer, but my gosh, you guys have got some trophies there on the wall. That is simply incredible.
So a lot of people know this deer here, and I'll get a little closer.
Okay.
As the Iowa river buck.
Is the Iowa what?
The river buck.
Okay.
Can you see it? I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm going there.
Yep, no, you're...
Okay. So, can you see that too?
Mm-hmm. Yep, we got it.
So that's my husband, Nick Peterson. And so he's just as passionate about archery and bow hunting as I am. And so I'm very fortunate that I can tell him, hey, can you hang my tree stand right here? And he can do that for me. Because I won't do it by myself. I have to take him out there with me. But so we are very fortunate to be able to have some opportunities to continue to find big deer. And I would say, Iowa doesn't have just big deer. There's other states that have big deer too, but so don't just come to Iowa hunt. You guys can go to Illinois and Indiana and all those other states too, right?
Well, Iowa is one of the toughest for a non-resident.
It is, yeah. There's actually a bill being proposed right now too that says if you own land in Iowa, then you can come and hunt the land that you own too. So you never know if that opens up as well, which then less land will be available in Iowa, but
Right.
hunt, so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been bow hunting, I don't know, at least 20 years. And I first have to start out that I think hunters go through stages of being a hunter, right? Like, you shouldn't just start out saying, I want to shoot these deer that are world-class deer, right? You want to start off knowing that it's okay to shoot does, right? We need our doe management. It's okay to shoot young deers. I mean, I get just as excited as seeing a little basket rack as I do a doe,
Thank you for saying that, because there's so much controversy out there about shooting does. Thank you for saying that.
One of the worst things that we've seen in the industry is basically kids in the sandbox throwing sand in each other's face because somebody shot what they didn't think was a big buck. But, like we said, a trophy is to anybody, right?
Yeah. It's the same kind of thing with trapping, right? I mean, you never know what's going to be in your trap. It's just like Christmas morning. You could open that box and you could get skunked just like you could in a trap. So, I mean, don't not do it because you're afraid what somebody is going to say. Do it because that animal made you excited.
Exactly. So, do you have your first buck there?
He's upstairs in the basement. I do.
So your first buck was a 17-point.
Gosh, darn my dad.
No, I think it's Donna.
Oh, that's my mom. So,
Okay, so your mom's calling you out now.
yeah, so that was a Missouri deer, and yeah, that was not with a bow, that was with a muzzleloader. So if anybody says muzzleloader and they think of that black powder smell right away, that's me every time you say muzzleloader. I have that in my brain forever. Because that's what I started to learn how to shoot with. And then I progressed on to a bow.
And then when did you shoot the one that you're about to show us?
So this was my 2021 deer, just this last year. And then 2020 was, I think I sent you a picture of that too. He was 155. So that was my largest. And I had asked my husband, so does he get to come downstairs with all of my husband's deer? And he said, no, he's not big enough to come downstairs, kind of a thing. So then I shot this one this year, who was 183. And so I told him he has to get rid of one of these ones, and they go upstairs, and this one gets to come down, because now he's the second, largest on our wall down here.
So you shot him with a bow.
I did shoot him with a bow.
How far was he?
He was right underneath my tree stand, like 5 yards, like right underneath my tree stand.
And didn't have a clue you were there.
He had no clue. And I had been watching him, for at least a month. I would see him in the tree stand that I wasn't, he'd be in a different area, and I just couldn't get him to come to me, whether it was a grunt call or a bleat or anything. I could never get him to come to me. And one night my husband said he was going to go to one of the stands. And I said, okay, I'll just go sit in a different stand and kind of do inventory, survey what's out on the land. And the farmers had just let in the bulls. So 3 bulls had come right underneath of it and just kind of like moved everything out. And I was like, man, usually when I see cows, it's not good. I want to get out. I'm just kind of done with my hunt. I don't know if anybody else is like that, but I just feel like, So I just was sitting there already like at this, am I going to see anything? And lo and behold, deer started showing up still. And
What time of day was this?
So that was at 3 o'clock when the bulls through. And at 4 is when he came in, and I shot him around 4:23. And I actually, the way he came in from me, if he would have walked right at me, I would not have had the ability to draw, because it was such a big open oak tree that he would have caught me trying to draw. So he came in following a doe, and right underneath in front, and I drew on him because I had to follow her first, right? Because I didn't want to get caught by her, so I drew on him. Well, she ended up leaving and acted like she was going to leave, and I had to let down. So it was, by that time, it felt like a minute, right? Or 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It just felt like forever. And she came back, and he followed her. And she was 15 yards from where she was, and I thought he was going to take that same path, and he didn't. He curved and came right underneath of me. So, of course, I did my whole because he didn't stop the first time. And remember, my husband was out in the woods, too, so he heard me stop him, and he heard me stop him again, but he never heard the arrow release. He never heard any running or crashing. So he sent me that text, did you get him? And my text back, he said, was just all gibberish, because nothing going in there. And so finally I was like, yeah, I shot him, but I'm not sure where I hit him at. At that point, again, it being so in tuned into your adrenaline, my adrenaline just let go as soon as I was done. You start to second guess yourself, right? And I don't know why we do this. You start to think, oh, did he duck? Did he jump? Did he kick? What did he do? And I started to second guess myself because he was so close at that angle that I thought maybe I got liver. I said maybe I just need to wait a little bit. So I got my composed, and I get another text message from my husband that says, I see him. His head is up. And so I told him, I was like, you better get out of that tree and bring your bow with you, because now he needs to finish him off. And he's like, no, he just died. And so I was just super excited, started to shake again. And he was like, get over here, you know, he's like kind of telling me like where to go. Well, I was still sitting in my tree stand, and I could not get my boot warmers off. Do you guys know those covers that go up if you're insulated? I could not. I was like trying to shake and just sitting there. And it was pretty chilly out in Iowa anyways. And he called me again, where are you? And I was like, I'm still in the tree trying to calm myself down because I just couldn't get my boots off, my covers off to be able to walk over there. And then you see it. You just see this bright red blood everywhere. Like somebody took a paint can and just went psh, psh, psh. And I had never seen a blood trail like that before. And so he really only went 22 yards, but I couldn't even see because it was so thick of the cedar trees there. But it was pretty exciting that my husband got to pretty much experience it with me. He got to see him go down, and I got to shoot him, which he was trying to shoot him first.
What bow were you shooting?
I actually shoot a Matthews.
Okay.
It's a single solo cam. So I love my Matthews bow. I know Bear is a very big supporter of our camp. But I shoot a Matthews, the solo cam.
And what broadhead were you using?
It's actually a Muzzy broadhead.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah. So it went 22 yards, and what poundage were you pulling?
I pull 46.
And it scored?
This is 183 and something.
183. Yep. So, with that being said, and an awesome story, I'm going to roll into a couple of questions that we always ask our interviewers. So this just kind of rolls in because we're out in the woods with you, and we're trying to watch you get out of your tree stand. It's just one of those things, right? So on your way to the stand that day, if you're driving in a car, what kind of music would you be listening to, or what would you be listening to on the radio? Podcast, radio station, XM? What would you be listening to?
Okay, so you know the Super Bowl Sunday that's going to be coming up?
Yeah, we've heard a little something about that.
That totally is geared for those Gen Xers, that halftime show. That is definitely Gen Xers. So I've listened to everything from that 90s hip-hop back when I was in high school to, Johnny Cash. I mean, I could never get enough of Johnny Cash and old music. But I'll have a lot of different podcasts on. So when I'm going from camp to camp, everything can be going on, from an audiobook to podcasts to just something, Christian music, it doesn't matter. And my parents have it all on, and we did lots of road trips. So.
Right. Okay, so you listen to that, you're getting all pumped up, you're heading out to the stand. Obviously, you probably got a backpack, or maybe it's back in the truck. But what kind of snacks are you carrying in the backpack, or are you having the truck with you when you're going places?
Yeah, you cannot go wrong with trail mix. Nuts and M&Ms, you got to have some type of healthiness a little bit. But so I will always have trail mix in my pack. Sometimes even like oranges to keep in there too, but bananas, just depends. I love lots and lots of snacks, but there's always going to be trail mix in there.
Right, and you know what? This isn't my question, but this is a statement that's coming over the questions in the chat for the interview for you is, thank goodness your mother came to babysit for about 3 weeks so you could hunt as much as possible, which ended in harvesting that beautiful buck.
Yes, I do have to thank my mom. Like I said, my parents are very, very supportive. And it just happens to be on the last day that my mom's there every single time. So both 2020 and 2021 is when I filled my tag. So.
And Mark wants to know did you field dress the deer or did Nick?
I don't remember. We brought Landon, my oldest, with us, and I think Landon actually did it. I think Landon helped us do it. So I held the antlers, and then my youngest, or my oldest, he's 7, he likes to come on the recovery with us. So I think Landon did it.
Future doctor.
Teach him young.
He wants to see guts, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've asked you what you're listening to. We've asked you what your kind of snack is. So the next one is, Mike and Dan are going to come visit you, and we're going to sit down, and you're going to cook us a meal. What would be your favorite meal that you would cook us, venison-wise, fish-wise, that you would say, hey, you guys are going to love this?
Yeah, so we're going to have back straps or hanging tenderloins. So deer steaks and french fries. But it can't just be your store-bought french fries. It has to be the ones that I peel and cut for you and refry them. And then there's a special dipping sauce with Miracle Whip and ketchup that you're going to dip it in. And the steak, you only cook the steak for 9 minutes. If you guys don't know how to cook deer steaks, it's 3 minutes flip, 3 minutes flip, 3 minutes flip.
Almost like deer heart.
Right?
Yeah.
Because two things. One, you don't want to overcook it. And two, it's going to keep cooking a little bit after you take it off anyways. So, you have fed Mike and Dan. And Mike and Dan want to hear what you would be your favorite story that you'd want to tell us. Any story about the outdoors or a moment in time that hit you that you wanted to tell us.
Oh, man. I just told you my one about...
Okay, I wondered if that was going to be it, or am I going to hear about the 17-point monster?
It was a 183 buck. What's better than that?
17 point for your first deer?
Yeah.
How old were you when you shot that first deer?
I was a junior in high school.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have a lot of friends back there who I had to make sure I went and showed my deer to, too. I couldn't just bring it home. I had to go in my truck and drive it around for a little bit.
Go through town, go by the school, drive through the parking lot. Yeah, that's my buck.
Yeah,
Nice.
It was definitely a fun story.
In reverse, forward.
Yep.
I want to take a picture by the stop sign. I want to take a picture over here.
Yep. We did a lot of pictures.
That is awesome. I'm telling you, it's to hear what you're doing with Raised at Full Draw and with the kids at camp and helping them get into camp and getting them in the outdoors for future generations and volunteers that fly in to help volunteer you guys. And for people that are listening or watching, get over to the online auction when we post the links and we see it at Raised and bid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Help some kids get into the outdoors. I mean, we always talk about getting kids, and Danny and I, we've said this many times, but you know what? I mean, that's the next generation. That's the ones that's going to carry the torch for us. We plant trees not for us. We plant trees for our kids and our grandkids because we'll never see them come to fruition. But I'm hoping one day that there's a tree that I've done planted that my grandson can hang a tree stand in one day. That's the type of things we want to do. We want to pass that tradition along to others, and you're doing that. And thank you.
Yeah, someone took you, so let's take someone else.
Absolutely. Well, it's hard to believe we've already come up on an hour here, so we're going to have to wrap up the show. But hang on, once we're done with the show here, hang on, we want to talk briefly. But for those of you who are listening on the podcast, make sure you check out our live show, Danny, which will be out, or not the live, but the record on YouTube.
So you'll obviously we have live on Facebook right now. You'll see this episode on YouTube within a couple days. Obviously, if you're listening on the podcast and you missed what was in the breaks that you didn't hear or see, you got to go back, because you got to go back to the video to see the bucks on the wall,
Absolutely.
which led to that. But remember, folks, get over to raisedatfulldraw.com. Check it out. Check out the programs, the camps. If you want to volunteer, you want to donate, they're right there at the top of the screen. You can donate, sign up for camps, and then stay tuned for the auctions they're going to have in March and in August?
Yep, August.
So that'll help them out as well. Let's get these kids to camp and let them enjoy learning about the outdoors and having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and go over to her social media pages and also Raised at Full Draw social media pages. Give them a like, follow, share. Do the same for us and share the show if you would, please. For anybody who's listening to the podcast and you're on iTunes, make sure you go over and give us a review. That helps the people who support us in turn. So next week,
Mike and Dan were at the shows last week in
Grand Rapids.
Next week, for our interview, is going to be, what is he?
Bill Parker. He is the promoter for Outdoorama, which is in Novi, Michigan, coming up at the end of this month.
Right, which is done by Showspan. So we're going to have him on. We're going to talk about Outdoorama. We're going to talk about everything Showspan does and what he does for Showspan.
And rumor has it we've got tickets coming that we're going to be able to give away for that. So if you're in the Northern Ohio area, you're in mid-Michigan, you want to go to Outdoorama, we're going to have some tickets that we're going to be giving away. So those should be coming hopefully in the mail this week.
Right, and that'll be next week. And in 2 weeks, rumor has it we're going to be talking to the one and only from PSE. But we'll see which is the one and only.
Oh, I thought we had that.
I think I'm pretty sure who it's
Okay,
going to be.
which one it's going to be. Okay.
Yeah.
If it is, it's going to be epic anyway, but regardless, if it's the one who I think it is, we're going to have some fun. So.
Right, we always do.
All right, folks, so that'll do it for us this week. Make sure you come back in next Thursday, 7:30 here on Facebook, and check out the show. We're going to be talking with Bill Parker once again from Showspan, and we'll see everybody next week. Y'all take care.